We are going to remember all Chief Justices Kenya has ever had since independence to the time of recording this. Since independence to the time of recording this. The first one was Sir John Ainley. Sir John Ainley became the Kenya's Chief Justice in 1962 to 1968. He became the Chief Justice before independence, but the independence found him to be the Chief Justice. He is the one who saw Jomo Kenyatta thrice. He saw Jomo Kenyatta on June 1963 during Madaraka Day. He saw Jomo Kenyatta at independence on 12th December 1963. And he saw Jomo Kenyatta during Kenya turning into a republic and Jomo Kenyatta becoming the president on 12th December 1964. So he served from 1962 to 1968. Then he handed over to other Denis Farrell. This one served for 2 months in an acting capacity. But then something happened. You see, Bildad Kagia had been jailed and he appealed. So when Bildad Kagia appealed his jail sentence, the jail sentence was reduced. Bildad Kagia had appealed for 2 things. First, he appealed against conviction. Then again, he appealed against the sentencing. Chief Justice Arthur Denis Farrell upheld the conviction but reduced the sentencing. That one annoyed the system. That is why he served for only 2 months. Then the next Chief Justice was Kitili Mwendwa, the third Chief Justice and the first African, Black African, Kenyan, was Kitili Mwendwa. He took over in July 1968 and served up to 1971. 1971, 72, somewhere there. Now, Kitili Mwendwa had a bachelor's degree in law in London. He had a master's degree in law in London. Came to Kenya and served various positions. Permanent secretary, deputy director of prosecution, and so on. Imagine he had a master's degree in law, but serving under Charles Njonjo. Well, things happen. Who had only a bachelor's degree? But there is something that Kenyans don't know about Kitili Mwendwa. He could be the first person to start the system of placing a court in your office in the morning, disappearing and coming back very late in the evening. Coming back very late in the evening to take his court to go home. He could be among the first people who did that. And he was very busy in his transport business. He would go to his office, leave the office, then coordinate his transport business throughout. So one day in July 1968, he was called to State House, Nairobi. He thought he was going to be admonished by the president over his not being in the office regularly. And in those days, the days of Jomo Kenyatta, if you are called to the State House, first of all, even more his time, you will not be told why you are being called. I remember even Uncle Moody, when he went to State House, he was not told that he was going to be requested to be the vice president. So when he went there, he was just asked, "Do you want to be the vice president?" When he accepted, he was given a motorcade. So those previously, you'd be called and you'd not be. Even Major General Hussein, when he was a brigadier, he was called and he was told, "Do you want to be the commissioner of police?" Many cases. Anyway, Kitili Mwendwa was called to the state house and he didn't know. He looked back to see what good thing he had done. He remembered that I've got a sore throat. He remembered that he used to be, I mean, he used to concentrate a lot on his business, transport business. So he thought that maybe they were calling him to admonish him over his business. And those days, whenever you used to visit Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, you used to carry money for Gatundu Self-Help Hospital. He carried 10,000 shillings, 1968, 10,000 shillings. He carried 10,000 shillings for Gatundu Self-Help Hospital. Upon arriving at the president's office, was it Harambee House or State House, he was told, you have been selected to be the next Chief Justice of Kenya. The next Chief Justice of Kenya. And he was sworn in as the Chief Justice. He left in 1971 or 72. He was associated with the coup attempt of 1972, whereby with Kinandolo, Major General Ndolo, together with Gideon Mutiso of Yatta, together with Professor Pius Oumamuga, wengi, many people. So that is how he left his work. It was taken over by Sir James Wicks. Sir James Wicks stayed there until 1982. Those days, I want to, there are some things in the Kenyan constitution people don't know how they came about. Like today, for you to be a president, you have to be 35 years. That one was done. If you look at another recording of mine, I'll tell you that it was done in order to block Tom Mboya from being the president. So James Wicks, when he was sworn in as the Chief Justice, it was the judges used to retire at 68. But because he had reached that age, the constitution was changed that judges would retire at 70. He reached 70, they still wanted him. They changed it to 74. That a judge of the High Court has to retire at the age of 74. But Sir James Wicks retired in 1982 at the age of 72. So from today, know that the reason why judges retire at 74, or the constitution, was it was being added so that Sir James Wicks continues being the Chief Justice. Then the next Chief Justice, who was the fifth, was CBM Madan. If you look at most of the people in the judiciary, they believe that to date, the best Chief Justice is CBN Madan. He handled the Githunguri case. He handled the Chief Justice Madan became the Chief Justice in 1985 and 86. He handled the Githunguri case. Now, if you want to know Githunguri case, if you scroll down, you'll see that there is a recording that I had said that he hurt the president's heart. Well, Githunguri had been charged with corruption when he was a CEO of a bank, National Bank of Kenya. And he was taken to court and he won the case. So since he's the one who he married the lady, there's a lady who was my boss in the intelligence, Elizabeth Munga. Jomo Kenyatta wanted Elizabeth Munga to be married by Daniel Arap Moi when Daniel Arap Moi was the vice president, but the lady was married to Githunguri. So when Moi became the president, around 1980. I mean, when Moi became the president, he wanted Githunguri to be taken to court. And for those of you who are not millenniums, you remember that judges used to get phone calls from the president who would tell them what to do, convict that person and convict him for so many years. But CBN said there is something in law that is called atrophois acquit, atrophois convict. Yeah, atrophois acquit and atrophois convict. So he said atrophois acquit. It means that the person, Githunguri, had been charged with the same charge and he was being acquitted. And in law, you cannot be convicted, you cannot be taken to court twice for something that you previously were either acquitted or convicted. He left in 1986, and the next person was Cecil Miller. Cecil Miller was a Guyanese. He was a Guyanese, but if you walk around with him, you'd think he's a Kenyan. Uh, he he was a Guyanese and he joined the Royal Air Force as a pilot. And after the World War, you know, we have these in some countries. If you are a veteran, you can be allowed some privileges like going to the university where your points, entry points, are below the normal because of what you have done as a veteran. So he went and studied law and he became a lawyer there. So he's also the one who dealt with the John 1983 inquiry. And since he did what the authorities wanted, in 1986 he was made a Chief Justice. He's, as I said, most people refer to CBN Madan as the best Chief Justice, and most people refer to Cecil Miller as the worst Chief Justice. He had even, what do you call, mental issues. There's a day, it was on a Sunday, between Kencom House and the High Court, nowadays Supreme Court, there is a parking which belongs to the Supreme Court. Before you go to Taifa Road, there is a time he was seen, you know, askari ni askari. There's a time nobody knew where his trouser was. He was in his underwear and he removed his shoes and placed it on the head and started marching. It was recorded by the special branch and it was carefully kept so that one day and then whenever the government, the authority, the what do we call that, the executive wanted a certain thing from him, they would show him that and he would do whatever they wanted. So he was the Chief Justice up to 1989 when when Alan Hancox became the Chief Justice. Alan Hancox became a Chief Justice between 89 to 93. The eighth Chief Justice was Fred Kwasi Akapolo. Akapolo was a Ghanaian and he was our Chief Justice between 93 and 94. But previously, 1977, he had been the Chief Justice of Ghana. And then he came to Kenya and became just an ordinary judge of the Court of Appeal. Quickly, if I have to mention, in 1977, there was, even before he became the Chief Justice of Ghana, because he was the Chief Justice of Ghana in 1977, in early years of Ghana, there were some people who wanted to overthrow Kwame Nkrumah, and they appeared before him, and he threw away the case. But Kwame Nkrumah did not sack him. He continued being a judge of the High Court, of the Ghanaian High Court, until the time when 1977 he became the Chief Justice. 1994 to 1997, the Chief Justice of Kenya was Abdul Majid Koka. Abdul Majid Koka up to 1997 when he retired. When he retired, The next Chief Justice from 1997 to 1999 was Justice Chesoni, a member of the JI-TENGE family. Justice Chesoni is a people say I'm related to everybody, but Claire Hachiti Chesoni, before she, that is her name. She was Claire Hachiti Sabuni. Sabuni is the eldest son of JI-TENGE by the first wife. So 97 to 99, my nephew Chesoni was the Chief Justice, and he died in office. When he died in office, 1999, Chunga, Bernard Chunga was made the Chief Justice. That was a present for him, because when he was a prosecutor, he used to prosecute Mwakenya people. He cannot be considered the worst because when it comes to legal administration, uh, disciplinary and whatever, and setting out things for judicial officers, that is judges, magistrate, and other paralegal officials working within the jail, he was very strict and was very. But then there is a time when people wanted to really look into the judges, and experts were recommended from out of the country, and he gave a very good speech. Said, experts, you say you are bringing experts. Experts for what? For why? And for whom? Don't we have experts in Kenya? When the new government came in, the new government came in 2003. These are people who were, and remember, before he went, he appeared in the Ouko Commission as the lead counsel, and the judge who was leading, who was heading the Ouko was Evans Gicheru, is it? But then, from being a prosecutor, he was made a Chief Justice, Evans Gicheru's boss. So he was there from 1999 up to 2003. And 2003, he handed over to Evans Gicheru. After handing over to Evans Gicheru, Evans Gicheru was there from 2003 to 2011, when the new constitution, the 2010 constitution started. And the 2010 constitution stated that if Gicheru was to be continue being a judge, he would just be an ordinary judge, because Gicheru was the judge of, was the Chief Justice, but the constitution then was different, because the Chief Justice was both the judge of High Court and the Court of Appeal. So the 2010 constitution said that even if Evans Gicheru, if he wanted to be continue being a judge, they say continue sitting on the bench, he had to be an ordinary judge of the Court of Appeal. A new Chief Justice you'd hand over. I think he decided, though, to just retire. The next Chief Justice between 2011 and 2016 was Willie Mutunga. Willie Mutunga, the only reason that made him leave office was age. 2016, he reached the retirement age and retired. So the next Chief Justice, 2011 to 2016, no, that was Mutunga. 2016 to 2021 was David Maraga. David Maraga. I want to say something about David Maraga, because in 2021 he handed over to the current Chief Justice Koome, who is still continuing. Those who pushed for David Maraga to go on, they saw his character. They mistook him and thought that since they had a Chief Justice Mutunga who was independent-minded, they felt that this one they would control him. Hey, you see za kisi wakisi saa zingine when they decide not to when they decide not to agree then he handed over to, I mean, he reached there. If they would have known that he's the type who would overrule the presidential election, maybe they would have taken Smoking Wanjala. Actually, Smoking Wanjala was the best person to be taken. I'm not saying that because I'm a Bukuso, but you see, they chose Maraga because they thought that they would really easily control him. David Maraga retired on age basis, and he handed over to the current Chief Justice, Martha Koome, and that the Chief Justices from independence or 1 year before independence to the time of recording this video. Thank you.